In the darkest depths of the ancient world, where the living were never meant to walk, something waited, something that never slept, something with 3 heads, each one capable of tearing a man in half before he had time to scream. And for thousands of years, every soul that passed through the gates of the dead knew one terrible truth: you could enter the kingdom of Hades. But nothing, not hero, not god, not king, would ever leave. Not while the beast was watching. Long before Rome built its empire, long before Greece carved its gods into marble, the ancient world believed in a place beneath the earth where every human soul eventually descended. The Greeks called it the Underworld, the realm of Hades, king of the dead, and his queen Persephone. It was not simply a place of punishment, though punishment waited there for those who deserved it. It was the final destination of every breathing thing: the rich, the poor, the heroic, the cowardly. Death was the great equalizer, and the road to death led through a single gate. A gate that was never left unguarded. The creature that stood watch at that gate was born from the most fearsome union in all of mythology. His father was Typhon, the last great monster who had challenged Zeus himself, a creature so enormous that his shoulders brushed the stars, and his voice shook mountains into rubble. His mother was Echidna, the mother of monsters, half woman and half serpent, immortal and ageless, dwelling in a cave beneath the earth. Together they produced a lineage of nightmares: the Lernaean Hydra, the Nemean lion, the Sphinx, the Chimera. And their most essential child, Cerberus, guardian of the gate between life and death, placed there by Hades himself to ensure the order of the cosmos was never broken. The dead would stay dead. The living would stay terrified. Picture him now, standing at the entrance to the realm of shadows, and understand that no painting, no sculpture, no human description has ever fully captured what Cerberus truly was. He stood taller than a war horse. His body was built like a mastiff bred in the pits of Tartarus itself, muscles coiled beneath a hide that carried the smell of sulfur and dried blood, and something older and darker that had no name in any human language. And then there were the heads, 3 of them, each independent, each alert, each turning in a different direction, so that nothing at all, could approach from any angle without being seen. The first head watched the river Styx, where the ferryman Charon delivered the newly dead. The second faced the black fields of Asphodel, where wandering souls drifted without memory. The third turned always toward the living world, toward the light, toward the direction from which no dead soul should ever try to return. Each jaw was lined with teeth like iron stakes, and his breath was said to be venomous, able to kill a living man with a single exhalation if he strayed too close. Where his saliva struck the ground, a poisonous plant called aconite bloomed, the wolfsbane that still grows in the shadowed places of forests today. His tail was a living serpent, coiling and striking independently. Along his back and neck, more serpents writhed like a mane made of fangs. He did not sleep, he did not tire, he did not hunger for food the way living things do. He hungered only for the moment something tried to cross that boundary it was never meant to cross. Of all the stories told about Cerberus, none is more shattering than the one involving Orpheus, the greatest musician who ever lived. Orpheus had been given a gift by the gods themselves. When he played his lyre, rivers changed their course. Trees uprooted themselves and walked toward the sound. Wild animals lay down beside one another, forgetting hunger and fear. Even stones were said to weep. But none of that mattered on the morning he woke to find his new bride, Eurydice, dead from a serpent's bite. Grief does extraordinary things to extraordinary men. Orpheus did not pray for acceptance. He did not offer sacrifice and ask the gods for peace. He picked up his lyre and he walked into the earth. He found the entrance to the Underworld, descended past the point where sunlight dies, crossed the river Styx with his music charming even the grim ferryman Charon into silence, and then he walked forward until the darkness ahead of him began to breathe. He heard the growl before he saw the beast, low, tectonic, like boulders grinding against each other in the deep earth. Then 3 pairs of eyes opened in the dark, each one burning with a dim and terrible light, and Cerberus rose to his full height. The serpents along his back began to hiss. The ground trembled beneath his paws. His 3 mouths opened, and the sound that came out was not a bark. It was the sound of every death that had ever happened, compressed into a single roar. Orpheus raised his lyre. His fingers found the strings, and he played. The first note stopped the growling. The second note stilled the serpents on Cerberus's back, one by one, until they hung limp and quiet as sleeping rope. The third note made the beast lower one of his heads, then the second, then the third. For the first and only time in the history of creation, Cerberus lay down. The guardian of the gate between life and death, the child of Typhon and Echidna, the unconquerable terror of the underworld, lay down on the black ground like a dog before a fire. His eyes grew heavy, his breathing slowed. The 3 heads rested against each other, and Cerberus, who had never once closed his eyes since the beginning of time, slept. Orpheus walked past him into the throne room of Hades himself. He played before the king of the dead and his queen, and ancient poets tell us that tears ran down Persephone's immortal face, and that even Hades, who had never felt compassion for anything living, sat in silence with his jaw tight and his hands gripping the arms of his throne, because the music was undoing something inside him that was not supposed to be undone. Hades granted the request. Eurydice would return with Orpheus to the world of the living. On one condition: he must not look back. He looked back, and so Eurydice was pulled back into the dark, and Orpheus emerged alone into the sunlight, the greatest musician in the world, unable to play a single note for the rest of his days without weeping. Behind him, Cerberus woke, the gate sealed, and the order of things was restored. The story of Cerberus echoed forward through centuries. The Romans adopted him wholesale, calling him by the same name, weaving him into their own vision of the afterlife. The hero Heracles, in his famous 12 labors, was commanded to capture Cerberus with bare hands and no weapons, a task considered so impossible that it was given as a joke by a king who expected never to see Heracles return. Heracles returned. He always returned. He wrestled the beast into submission through sheer divine strength, dragged him briefly into the world of sunlight, where Cerberus howled and thrashed, and his dripping saliva created fields of poisonous wolfsbane that still grow wild today, and then returned him to Hades. The lesson was older than philosophy. Some thresholds exist for a reason, some doors should not be opened, and the guardians placed before impossible passages are not obstacles. They are warnings. Cerberus never truly left human imagination. He walks through Dante's Inferno, tearing at the souls of the gluttons. He guards the vault in the Harry Potter world, charmed to sleep by music in a direct echo of Orpheus. He appears in video games, films, novels, and the names of cybersecurity software and rocket programs, because even now, in an age of satellites and screens, the image of a 3-headed dog standing between the known and the unknowable still makes something primitive in the human brain go quiet and careful. We recognize him without being told who he is. That recognition is instinct, and instinct does not come from nowhere. We still tell this story because we still believe in thresholds, because every human being, no matter the century, understands that there are places you are not supposed to go, and that something waits for you if you try. Somewhere beneath the layers of rock and soil and time, if the ancient poets were telling more than stories, a gate still stands. And 3 pairs of eyes are still open in the dark. If this story gave you chills, subscribe. We bring ancient myths to life every day.